YouTube, my name is Mesa and we are back here on Anthem. Alright folks, I just got back from Stockholm, Sweden, where I was able to get some hands-on time with Anthem, courtesy of EA Game Changers. At the time of recording this video, I cannot talk about or show you anything from the event that I attended. However, you might want to hit subscribe because I've got some really cool stuff to talk about and possibly show you in the near future. Let's get into today's video. Today's video is going to be all about the loot. Anthem is a third-person looter shooter, and there is a ton of loot to get in this game. The loot at its core will be added to your javelin suits to make you powerful. As you're seeing in the background here, we have the live stream from the other day where Darren and Ben from BioWare did a full breakdown on how progression, loot, and gear will work. So let's get into it. Here we are looking at the Javelin loadout screen where you will customize your javelin. We are looking at the Colossus right now. There are three others. You have the Storm, the Interceptor, and also the Ranger. On the top left-hand side of the screen, you can toggle between loadout and appearance. Appearance is how your javelin suit will look, and you can customize that javelin. I will use this opportunity to point out that they confirmed on Twitter, no loot boxes whatsoever, and everything regarding microtransactions will be cosmetic. No pay to win, no pay for power. Each of the javelin suits will have 5 different areas that you will fill out with loot. That loot will add to your progression as well as make you more powerful. The loot in Anthem will have random rolls. They will come in different rarities, they will have bonuses, they will have stats, and actually they call bonuses in this game inscriptions. In Anthem, as a character, you are a freelancer or pilot that then pilots these javelin suits. As you level up and play the game, you will be leveling up your pilot. Once you level up your pilot, then things start unlocking. And they used one example. When you hit level 4, you can carry 2 different weapons. When you first start off, you only have 1 weapon. Loot will come in 6 different types of rarities. You have common, which is white, uncommon, which is green, rare, which is blue, epic is going to be purple, and then you have legendary and masterwork, which are going to be a gold or orange color. They mentioned on a live stream that at Fort Tarsus, there will be what's called the Forge. The Forge is an area that as you acquire all sorts of loot, you go back to the Forge, and that's where you will change your loadout. You can also change your appearance at the Forge. Here we are looking at the ordnance launcher for the Colossus, and we're looking at a piece of loot, and this is the firewall mortar. Now, there will be different types of ordnance launchers that you can apply to your Colossus to make that Colossus more powerful. Now, looking at this piece of loot, it has a number of stats. Those will be all static. When you get that piece of loot, that's what you're going to get. However, when we look at the bottom, we see what's called an inscription. Now, ignore that 0%. They said on stream that this was just a bug in the alpha build that they were working on. However, they mentioned on stream that for those inscriptions, there's over 100 different inscriptions. So you can get this firewall mortar to drop for you with a different role other than pickup radius. And the higher the rarity in the loot, the more inscriptions that piece of loot will have. There will be multiple difficulty settings on the activities within the game. The higher ones that you choose will give you better loot and obviously better rarities in that loot. So you want to do those high-end activities once you feel that you're powerful enough. You can also see on this piece of loot that it says power 22. So as you're playing Anthem, you will have a power number associated to all the pieces of loot that you get. When you're playing Anthem, you will be match made with other people or playing with friends. When you complete an activity, everyone will get their loot. However, you cannot share the loot with the people that you are playing with. If you do get loot that you do not like or do not want, you can break it down. Then, if you're looking for a particular piece of loot that did not drop for you, you can go craft it. However, you need to find the blueprint or recipe, so to speak, to craft that item. They did mention on stream that there might be a certain challenge or activity that you can go look for, and once you complete it, you will get a blueprint and you can go back to Fort Tarsus and craft that particular item. There is no re-rolling of a piece of loot that drops for you. However, if you do have a particular item that you like that you have a blueprint for, you can go back to Fort Tarsus and craft it over and over until you get the inscriptions or the bonuses that you like. Now let's take a look at another piece of loot. Here we're looking at the heavy assault launcher for the Colossus. Now in the inventory of this particular character, there's 4 different types. Now he is equipped right now a rare piece of loot, blue gear, with a power level of 32. This one is a flamethrower. Now, looking at this piece of loot right here, we have some stats. We have damage, we have recharge, and we have fire status. Now, looking at the bottom, we see 2 inscriptions. One is for increased javelin shotgun ammo, and the other one is for javelin heat damage. So as I mentioned, this particular flamethrower will have the static stats. However, those inscriptions can be randomly rolled when they drop for you. Now, we have 2 on this piece of gear because of the fact that it is rare. As you increase in the rarity of the items, they will have up to 4 inscriptions for that particular piece of loot. This particular piece of loot would be beneficial if you ran a shotgun because of that increased shotgun ammo. However, if you're not running a shotgun, that's where you start to look for different pieces of loot with different inscriptions that fit your playstyle. He does a quick comparison where he throws on the railgun to compare it, and the railgun, you can see, has a much lower power level. It has only 2 stats on it and only 1 inscription. So more than likely, you want to go with the one that's more powerful and a higher rarity. Next up, he shows you a couple of weapons. One of them is a heavy weapon, and it's worth noting that the Colossus is the only javelin that can carry the heavy weapons. This one is a grenade launcher. Looking at both of these weapons, one is a marksman's rifle. They're both of epic rarity. So looking at the stats, you've got stats, but then you have 3 inscriptions. Remember, the higher the rarity, the more inscriptions. The next loot category that we're going to look at is called components. Now, components is going to add stats and also abilities, but what components are really for is to let you customize your playstyle. Here we have 2 pieces of loot that are components. One is equipped, which is the overclocked regulator. The other one that he has in his inventory is the explosives expert. Both of them are power level 36 and are of epic rarity, so they have 2 inscriptions. The one to the left is all about blast damage. The other one is increased lightning and fire damage by 35% of base damage. So once again, these components are all about your playstyle. If you're all about explosions, well, you might want the explosives expert. If you want to set things on fire or you're into lightning, well, use the overclocked regulator. One thing that they did not mention on stream is when you look at the inscriptions for the epic overclocked regulator, we see a plus percentage for luck. Now it says luck bonus. What does that mean? I got a feeling that could mean maybe extra drops or better luck at getting drops. Speculate in the comment section. They did mention also on stream that you might get some sort of component to drop for you that will help with your thrusters. One of the things is when you're flying around, and Anthem is all about flying, verticality, hovering, things like that. One of the things when flying around is your jets will overheat and you'll be plopped to the ground. So you might want to use a component that will help with your thrusters, meaning they won't use as much thrust, because other than going under a waterfall or dipping in water, you will burn out really quickly and overheat. Here we are looking at a Ranger Javelin, and that Ranger Javelin is a high-end one. And when I mean high-end, meaning that they have lots of Masterwork or legendary loot. That's the highest loot tier in the game in terms of rarity. Here is an assault rifle or assault launcher called Argo's Mace. This one is a Masterwork assault launcher and power level 40. Looking at this Argo's Mace, we see a few different things here. We see 3 main stats. We see a specific orange stat right there. Detonates an electric explosion when defeating an enemy. And then we see 4 inscriptions. That main perk on Argo's Mace, the detonates an electric explosion when defeating an enemy, that's not going to change from this weapon. However, you can farm for this weapon if you know where it drops and get those 4 different inscriptions to re-roll every time, and there's about 100 different inscriptions within the game. So if you get an Argo's Mace that you don't like, don't worry, you can keep farming an activity where you think it may drop and get a better one with better inscriptions. They did say on stream that the legendary loot, which is above Masterwork, will be better. They did not have any examples and they did not have any to show, but safe to say the legendary gear or loot will be better than the Masterwork. Now, depending on the rarity of the loot that you get, the higher the rarity of it, the more inscriptions you can get, but also the increased pool of things that it can choose from. Like, let's say you get something that's rare. You will have a limited pool of things that you can get. It's all random, of course, but when you get to legendary status, that's where the pool is enormous. So if you like this particular weapon and you know where it drops from, keep doing that activity over and over, and hopefully you can get better inscriptions for it. However, they did say the legendary gear and loot will be very difficult to get and will drop at a high power level. but you will not be able to get these types of things until your overall power level is really high, as well as your gear score. Well, that's a perfect segue. Let's talk about gear score. In the top right-hand corner, we see a legendary ranger and we see a gear score. That's going to give you a barometer as to what type of activities you can do based on your gear. The gear score is calculated really simple. You simply take all of the pieces of loot that you have equipped, your weapons, in this particular case, your grenade, your support gear, your components, add up all the power levels, that makes your gear score. That is going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you were hyped for Anthem. If you want more Anthem content, please hit subscribe. Leave me a good old hashtag made it to the end if you did make it to the end, and do me a favor, drop a like in this video only if you see fit. Follow me on the Twitter at Mesa Sean. Check out my stream, usually and always on YouTube, and that is it. I am out of here like Vladimir.